Going live. Come on, there we go. We are live. Thank you for joining us on Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom number 168. I'm your host, Greg Galb. The gang's all here with Courtney and Tony and John and Don and Dennis and Mike and Jim and Martin and Jerry and Bob and Wayne and Krister and Garth and other people. We're going to do a slightly different format than normal. But first, we're going to let Bob introduce himself. Bob has been on the chat a few times, just kind of chilling in the background or watching episodes, but now he decided to join us, and he's going to tell us all about his slot car related history. Go for it, Bob.
Okay. Hi, I'm Bob Bellamini. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. And as a kid, I raced HO and kind of lost interest in slot cars and got with model airplanes. But a few years ago, about 12 years ago, I was doing, I'm in the printing business, and I was doing printing for a friend, and he had me deliver it to a place called Fast Lanes, and walked in there, and I was just like, wow, look at all these scale slot cars. And, fell in love with the slot cars. And we have a couple of wood tracks here in Cincinnati, and participated in the Michigan 24. I actually met Dennis Sampson there one year. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you remember me, Dennis, but
I do.
Yeah. And I'm good friends with Butch Dunaway. I think you know Butch.
We won't hold that against you.
I know. And, but like I said, I've done the Michigan 24, but mainly just race locally these days, and, really enjoy it. And, I thought I'd check in on the chat today and participate for a change instead of just listening in the background. So.
Well, thank you for joining us. And by all means, stick around and come back often, and
try and get Butch on the call too sometime.
There you go.
I talked to him this morning, Dennis, about doing that, but he's not real tech savvy when it comes to phones.
That's right. We would have to do it on a piece of granite and etch a sketch it.
Papyrus, I think, rather than granite, even.
But just FYI, I was mentioning earlier before the chat started that on Home Racing World, I'm on there as Tuner 28. So, anyways.
Good to have you with us, man.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, and the next format change I wanted to do is I want to start the show with an audience question or topic suggestion. So anybody out there wants to comment on this video for an opening topic or question for next week's chat, go ahead and put that down in the comments, or even post it on Facebook or forums or wherever you see the video. Just say, hey, I was wondering about, or can the guys talk about, or what's the blah, blah, blah. This week, we're going to start off with a question on behalf of John Weber. He can't attend today. He's got some other things to do, but he is interested in getting started with scratch-built brass chassis. And I know we've talked about them quite a bit, and you guys are always, jumping at, giving tips and hints and tricks and all that stuff. But what I'm hoping to get from you guys is just kind of a resource or two that's a good beginner's guide. That just basically says these are the things you need, here's what you do, here's how you cut things, here's how you solder things, here, that kind of thing. So is there something out there that's freely available that you guys consider a good starter's resource? Dennis is looking for the site that he's thinking of, so I'm sure we'll have that in a moment.
No, it's Dennis. You post up Dennis's phone number. That's the first thing you do.
Okay, what's your phone number?
Yeah, right. There are any number of these things. One of the first places to go always would be Home Racing World, and go to the Marty Stanley Scratch Building sub-forum that's on Home Racing World. It was named after a now deceased fellow slot racer who lived in Florida. And Marty was a great, prolific builder. And he did a lot of stuff there. But that sub-forum is just full of good information about all kinds of stuff related to building. It has information about jigs and fixtures, tools, etc., etc. There are a couple of others. If you go, for example, to IRRA-slotracing.com, we can put that into the IRRA-slotracing.com, and down the left-hand side of the first page, there's a link that says how to, and there are a bunch of how-tos there. They are all basically set up for 1/24 scale, but the techniques are universal. So there's a lot there that you can learn. There's, for example, a whole link about tools showing the type of soldering irons we use, the type of jigs to use, all of that kind of stuff. And there are a number of others that are really good as well. And yeah, there you go. Greg's got it up. Okay.
Yep.
So that's a good place to go. Home Racing World Scratch Building Forum is a good place to go. And between the two, you can get a lot of information.
Yeah, this looks like a really good resource. The thing I noticed about the Home Racing World, obviously there's a lot of great examples and people and sharing and whatnot, but I didn't see any pinned threads that were like, here's a list of resources.
No, unfortunately, you have to kind of go through the whole thing. You'll find a few from me there on Home Racing World where I went step by step through some of the sub categories. Like, for example, there's a whole thread there on how to make motor brackets. Because motor brackets very often are something that people need. I'm not sure that there's a set of Slot Car Corner put out something about resources at one stage, and I'm trying to remember where it is. It may well be somewhere there inside that section of Home Racing World. There may be a direct link on Slot Car Corner's website, but they did put out something about resources at one stage. This is where you go for brackets. This is how you do. This is where you go for soldering irons and things like that.
Now, also, I'm no Dennis Sampson, but I do have a series just on how to build a brass chassis for a 36.
Oh yeah. John's got some videos as well.
Right. Yeah, and it just shows you that you can do something with nothing. So. And
John's videos are nice because those chassis are really nice and simple, and they're perfect for home track racing. A lot of the stuff that I've done is for proxies and or for more competitive racing here, and a lot of them are enormous amounts of overkill for what we do. But the ones that John's done have been very effective, very simple.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're so simple you could play a banjo while you make them.
Except I couldn't do that because I can't play a banjo.
Just make sure I'm putting links in here, so I remember to put them out in the description below so that people can access those. But if you're in the Zoom, I've just been putting links in the text chat there for you to click on.
That's good.
Anybody else?
If there's one really important tip, Dennis, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're using brass, make sure that you sand it in some way, shape, or form and make it clean and the right amount of flux.
Yeah, cleanliness is next to godliness when it comes to any kind of scratch building.
Right.
What's his name? Scotch Bright is your friend. Clean every piece of brass, clean every piece of wire. I don't believe that it's possible to use too much flux, but it is definitely possible to use too much solder, or solder, as you guys might want to call it.
And to your point, Dennis, what our daughter taught me, she actually went to jewelry YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And my goodness, she uses the tiniest amount of salt, and it does such a great job.
You've got to be able to, but the big point about it is you've got to get the heat to the joint quickly, and once the joint is hot, then you put the solder in. That's a lot of slot car soldering that you'll see people carrying the solder on the iron from the roll of solder, put it on the end of the iron, and feed it into the joint. Fine if you're just trying to tack it. If you're trying to just hold it in position, that you can do. But if you really want a good joint and you really want a strong joint that looks nice, you have to get the flux in there. You have to heat the joint until the flux starts boiling, and then you apply the solder into the joint, and then you start moving the solder around. So there are lots of tricks, right? A decent soldering iron is the very first thing that you need. If you're building brass chassis, there is no better investment than a Hakko 601 FX right now. The right solder. Do not use plumber solder or solid sticks of solder. The smaller the gauge of solder wire you can find, the better, because it gives you much more control over how much of that solder is going into the joint. Good flux, acid flux always for brass and steel. Remember, don't use acid flux on electrical joints unless you wash it all off straight away. But even on regular stuff, when you're building and you use acid flux, wash it off straight away. A little stainless steel brush under running water is enough to get rid of the initial flux and the corrosion that will go with it. If you leave it overnight, it will be brown in the morning. And that's the steel, not the brass, right? It'll rust. Jigs are important, but they're not the be-all and end-all. You can make a jig out of a flat piece of wood and a piece of graph paper if you need to, right? But in the long run, jigs are a very good idea if you're going to be building a number of them. I think, John,
sorry, I was going to say to your point, and I know that Chris says this as well, as long as it's square.
Square and flat, that's what you need. The front axle must be parallel to the rear axle in all planes, right? That's the first thing. The bottom of the chassis should be flat. You want to get it as low as you can or as your rules allow. And those are the kinds of things. You need to be sure that you're spacing the guide so that the guide is sitting in the right place with enough pressure on the braids without lifting the front wheels off the track. Most scratch-built chassis work better with the front wheels on the track, particularly if you're running on wood. Adjustable front wheels, you can make them, but they're a little more difficult when you're scratch-built. Some people are using screw-on pieces there that you drill some holes and screw on little plastic blocks that you can get from Mazzetti or you can get from Slot Car Corner and places like that, and use them to adjust the front. But normally, the couple of things that you have to decide, other than the basic design of the chassis, you need to decide in the beginning what gear ratio you're running, what clearances you need, what tire sizes you need in order to get those clearances, because a lot of that is not adjustable once you start building. You need to build with those sizes in mind.
Great.
How's that for a start?
I think that's fantastic. We've got some online resources and some professional tips to get people started. I think, like I said, we talk about this fairly regularly every time somebody is working on something or showing off something. So
there's another link you could put in, and that's the one if you're looking for a fancy building jig, and that's pslotcar.com.
Oh yeah.
Precision slot cars.
I have to admit, though, it is addictive. Once you get building brass chassis, it's so much fun.
Can't overemphasize good soldering technique, and you don't even need to build a chassis to practice your solder technique. Just some brass piano wire and build a bridge or what, just start soldering and good technique before you start building a chassis.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's lots of YouTube videos out there with just kind of basic. Here's your basic soldering technique.
But remember, if you do go looking at the jewelry techniques, those guys are soldering usually fine wires, so they'll have very small soldering irons with tiny little tips on them. When you're soldering brass chassis, you need a 3/16 to a 1/4 inch wide chisel tip on the front of your iron. You need 55 and upwards wattage on the iron. You need high temperatures. It's not so much the high temperature, but what you really need is that lot of mass that's holding the heat in the tip of the iron. Otherwise, it gets cold as soon as you put it on the piece of brass.
Yeah.
And you can use a torch as well.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
All right, good stuff. Let's go ahead and move on to
Cool.
show and tell. So if you have something you want to show and tell, raise your virtual hand. I'll make sure to call on you. I see hands going up and down. I'm not sure who to call on anymore, but on my screen, I thought I saw Mike's hand go up and then down, but
yeah. Well, I was just going to add that you could. One of the ways that I started doing the chassis, which I've shown on here before, is using a slotted pod and making the rest of it around that. And that works surprisingly well. I was amazed at how well it handled, even for the first chassis I did.
There are a lot of really good articles about that. There's a fellow up in Canada, in Vancouver, Dan, I don't remember his name now. He goes by VTech4 on Home Racing World, and he does a lot of those. And he makes them out of a combination of brass tubes and wire, so that he can adjust the wheelbase of the chassis when he makes them and things like that. So he's done a lot of those, and they're very nice, very simple, and they work really well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to testing out some of the sort of the I-beam style chassis. So put a central point that has flex in it. I'm curious how that will work on the plastic tracks. So, to sort of emulate the like sideways and those that have flexible chassis and thunder slot, those kind of. I want to try and use a very thin piece of wire to connect the two ends of the chassis, and see what kind of flex works the best. So that's my next thing that I'm going to try and see what happens.
cool. Looking forward to your experiment results.
Indeed.
All right, let's move on to show and tell. And we got Tony. Tony, you got some new cars?
Yes, these
All
come
right.
this afternoon.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
The one
That one,
Gio
Gio,
was,
that one looks kind of familiar.
yeah, that's the one Gio was doing all that work too.
It's the one he lit up like a Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got this
Oh,
one
and
here.
the new NSR.
Oh, that's a pretty
Yeah.
car.
That is.
2023.
Aston Martin
Yeah.
Alonso.
Mhm. What number did you get? The 14, so it's the Alonso one.
Yeah, 14. And come this afternoon. And this come this afternoon.
Oh, you got
Oh, that's the reciprocator for the CD slot cars
tire truer.
tire truer.
Yeah,
That's a piece of over engineering for you,
I
Greg.
was just about to say that. Somebody showed a picture with the top open. I'm like, holy moly.
I bought a couple of these.
Oh, some motors?
Predators by the looks of it.
Predator. There you go.
From,
What you gonna put them in?
Stock Car Corner.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yep. Nice.
Yep.
17.5. Nice. They're apparently really nice.
Are they any good, these motors? I
Yeah.
thought I'd try them out. I don't know.
Yeah. Most of the motors that have come from Slot Car Corner have always been very nice, good value for money, and with nice drivability. Apart from the 25K Piranha, which personally I don't think was a great success.
All done?
Yeah, that's me done.
All right.
Have a
Thanks
lovely
for sharing.
afternoon.
Thanks for sharing, Tony. Gio, you're next.
Okie dokie.
Oh,
Oh wow.
So
Have fun
just
with that.
before I start, yeah, fuck. So
Yeah,
a
maybe.
suggestion for the format, Greg. Maybe you can start the streaming with asking the question and then maybe getting the answer towards the end, so that the people get hooked up from the beginning till the end of the video.
Tease them? No, I'm not like that.
Well, plus you don't bore me to death about how I'm gonna throw my tires. Anyway, so okay, so you guys have seen the video. So as you know, basically Scale Auto is kind of starting production of these Le Mans hybrid cars. So this was the first one that they were gonna release, the Porsche 963. So I mean the actual date for release I think was 15th of June, but I think the kits became available maybe a week ago. So I got one from Evotech in Spain and delivered by UPS, so which it took basically 4 days, I think, or 5 days. So this is what so it's still a white kit. So this is what you get. So the car comes with the standard RT4 chassis and pod. So and the
not
body.
the standard pod, it's a brand new pod. Because
Sorry,
it's a 12.5 degree angle.
Yeah, as a standard, it comes with these new pods. That's what I meant.
Yeah, standard for the hypercars.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Agreed.
Yeah. So what you see, these are all the kind of things that you get from the kit. So the body is, these are very long cars. So the body comes in 2 pieces, I think, mainly because they could not fit in the standard package. And there are a couple of extra sprues with the glass parts, and also interiors, wing, and a couple of other small items like mirrors and inserts. So these are all the pieces that go into the car. And when you put on the scale, these are all stock items. So it's like 16 grams actually. So it's pretty light for what it is. Plus, if you want to go even crazier, you can get a 3.6 grams off the interiors and windows if you get the light interiors from Scale Auto. So my plan here is that I'm gonna do the vac forming for the interiors, because I think that these will be on top of where I'm gonna install the chip, the bottom of the tray here of the interior. So I think it's gonna interfere with the chip. And if I do the vac forming, then I think I should have some extra space, vertical space, where I can put the capacitor and other bits. And because these are very low cars, of course. So the 2 parts body go together via screw, as Gary says. Is this a Carrera car or what? So, well, I mean yeah.
Why?
Fair point.
That's weird. I mean, why not just a glue like all the other 2 parts?
It's a very kind of a thin area where they are putting the 2 parts together. But I think I can glue these up without using the screws. So using these pillars that are there. So I don't think it's gonna be a big deal.
Aren't those 2 pieces intended to jiggle independently of one another?
No.
That's what they said. That's what Scale Auto said.
Oh, I don't
But
know
it
what they
doesn't.
said. I just know what I think, and that's what I think.
It doesn't do. So you see these tabs over here, they basically have to go underneath these lip here. And these 2 basically go on top. So there is no wiggling anything there.
The other thing about it is that, that's the piece that gets the most damage in a race. And so I think maybe they wanted to provide you with something that would be replaceable as an individual part.
Of course, in that respect, it's far more realistic, because they do that with the full-size vehicles too.
Yeah, but are you gonna paint and decal multiple front ends?
Screw that.
Well, if you're using it for a 24-hour endurance race, that might be possible.
Yeah, you'd have whole bodies though. You wouldn't do just front. You'd
I
do
would, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do it for that, but they might. I'm trying to think back to what Yvonne said when they were out here about that and why they do it, because SRC do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there are, okay, so maybe you're right. I mean, because in some of the GT3 cars, for instance, you have the front here and the back. I think maybe it's a molding issue. So yeah, the front and the back basically
Well,
are different pieces that you attach to the body, right?
Yeah, to your point, Gio, I think one, it's a molding issue, and two, gives them some flexibility to perhaps reuse some of the body parts for something else.
Yeah.
Or the other thing that I would like these people do, I was gonna say efforts, but is that, you know, when most of these cars evolve over time, right? The GT3 cars, or, you know, this one. So usually most of the evolution is the aero package in the front and the back, vents, grills, or whatever. I mean, they could do a new mold for updating only that part, but they don't do that anyway. So anyway,
That's true.
so we can keep speculating, but it's still, I think, I mean, looking at the level of details and whatnot, I think Scalato did an excellent job on the car. You know, screws on the side.
Yep.
So I'm already started basically. I mean, when I started shooting these pictures, I had no decals in mind. So I knew that nobody at that point I knew that nobody was gonna add any decals available, or at least the usual suspects where I get to my decals. So I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna paint this car black, and I'm gonna do basically like a testing car. And then I was already thinking like, okay, so how I'm gonna put Christmas trees, how many LEDs I'm gonna put on this car. So I started using the one that I use for the front lights in the and then NSX. And so I was kind of say, okay, can I fit inside the elements here of the light? And actually there is, so you see how small the LED is. And actually, so this is the front items. So the front piece with the lens cover in and the LEDs here.
Wow.
So there is plenty of space. So it's good. And actually it's gonna be pretty prototypical as well, because the actual car is basically has 4 flat LEDs that have same size. So I think it's gonna be fun.
Well done, Dr. Frankenstein. Well done.
It's not that Frankenstein thing. I mean, I'm not doing anything crazy here. I said these are kind of, you can see the LEDs in place. It's gonna be the rear that is gonna be challenging, but that will be for another show and tell. So finally, Scalato basically decided to update the inserts, because for all the GT3 cars that are producing, they all put the same standard wrong inserts. So this one, I think they're pretty close to the prototype. So it's a good deal. And now the bloody chassis. So this stuff is huge. And as I mentioned, so this is the new pod. So RT4, I think it's called, and comes standard with the 2 springs and arms. I mean, I think they did super complicated. Why the heck people don't copy what the Black Carros does? Anyway, so they have these bloody things here, and they have 2 screws in this position over here. Okay, but if you want, you can remove these screws and put one here in the middle. So basically, you will have kind of similar to NSR type of configuration or thunder slot. Actually, thunder slot is more precise, because here you have another 2 position for putting the suspension as well. And there are also options, so you can buy extra parts in order to extend the arm of the pod to go and I think lock up on these things. So they have like a U bracket that you screw on the pod and extend in order to get even more movement. But I think these are more than enough. So this is what you see here is another RT4 pod with an offset of 1 mil, so that I'm gonna play around with later on, maybe just to see how, because it comes with a huge amount of parts. So I want to see what's inside and how it does it fit with this one.
What
Are you
what's
gonna answer the phone? So the standard wheels are 17.5. So these are the rear ones. And I have to say that the tires, the rear tires are really grippy. So I'm planning to make a class out of these cars for my group here. I mean, they are gonna buy their own cars. I might pay for some. And so I'm trying to see whether, the car is gonna perform out of the box without changing anything if possible. So just to try to keep it. So if these tires are suitable and the wheels are okay, I think I'm gonna leave things as they are instead of messing around with that. Now the guide is pretty good one. So this is the pro guide that you can buy from Scalado that I like and I usually use. So there's the top screws that lock in place, but I don't know why. So Scalado is doing all these kind of weird way of connecting the guide to the pod, and there is this what's called there's a huge gap basically between and yeah, that's a bit annoying. I mean, I was trying to take a picture to see, you'll see how the guide will look a bit off. So there's gonna be some work. I mean, still, of course, I mean the wheels or the tires are not true, so there is still some work that I need to be doing there. But I'm not planning to reduce too much the diameter of the wheel. So
Gio, is the chassis flat? Because maybe is there a twist to the chassis? Maybe?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So I mean, yeah, I don't think it's flat actually, because it's so long. I think there is a bit of arching, and I took a picture of that as well. So, and I'm afraid to do the flattening of this chassis because it seems too soft. But I'm gonna try, because in any case, I'm gonna order. They have a black version of these. I'm gonna order one of that. So if I really screw it up, then I can have a replacement. Anyway, you can see here even worse. I mean, the angle of the guide and the chassis I was sitting.
oh yeah.
So this is what I was talking about. That there is a bit of it's not completely flat, and there is such a long wheelbase that I think it's going to be difficult to keep it flat or out of production. Of course, I mean, I think if I manage to do the flattening, it should be okay. So there is on the rear. So as I said, it's a spring. There are spring suspension, right? So, and the movement, I don't know if you can see, but there is a lot of so this without compressing. You have to have a look at this gap here. So this without compressing and this with the compressing goes down quite a lot. Basically, the chassis now is bottoming up, and I think Scalado has plans for using these two holes here for controlling the amount of movement. And I think they're using M2 screws with the Philip head that you put down there in order to control the movement. So I thought that maybe I can do something different. So if you use like a 6 mil grab screws, an M2 6 mil. So I mean, I'm using this pointing one. I mean, because I had that close by, so it's just for test. But if you use a standard one, it's even better. So these one are the stoppers that you get standard from the slotted suspensions. So if you basically screw the grab screw inside, right? The retainer or this holder here, then you can create a kind of a small stopper, and then using the standard washers that I use for doing the silicone stuff, the 1 mil, then you can install here. And so you can use this not only as a stopper, but also you can have a bit of extra kind of flexibility there, or suspension or absorption of the bouncing around through the silicone washer over here. So this is something that you can do pretty easily and cheap at home. Yeah, this is another picture to show how it looks like from the top, and that's my show and tell. The only things that I don't like about this stuff, I have not tested yet, but this is the bloody motor here. So this is they call it Junior, Sprinter Junior, but it's 22.5, and usually these motors I have like the Baby Junior or the Junior Sprinter Junior version 1. I mean, they say that is 18 K RPMs, but actually once you run it in is a 20. So this one is gonna be a 25, I think, RPMs motors, which is too much for my truck. And even like 10 volts, this is gonna be a freaking beast. So maybe
You
this
never
will be
have
something
too
that,
much power.
I mean, you cannot have too much grip. Power,
No.
you can reduce that, but power, I mean, grip is not no compromise there. So this, I think it's gonna be maybe too much. So if I'm gonna keep everything as standard, so I have to either run this stuff at 10 volts plus reducing maybe through oxygen stuff to kind of reduce maybe 99 or 85%, but we'll see. That's it for the moment. So the decals are coming. I got the decals actually from, so yesterday I managed to order them from a decal doc or doc decal. Just a sec. I just posted on the slot form. So there is this guy in Germany that does these decals for, I think, 4 of these cars, 4 or 5. So it's gonna be an interesting livery as well to make. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's a great livery.
I had a question about the chassis. It might help if you bring that last picture back up, but the 2 little kind of arch things that hold the top of the suspension looks like they're plugged into the chassis from above, but the springs are so are they held into the chassis?
It's a C-shaped slot.
Yeah, so basically the screws is at the bottom of the chassis. I don't know, Greg. I mean,
okay, so there's screws. Okay, those screws are coming up through the bottom.
Yeah, so basically with this C retainer here, allow you to kind of fine tune or adjust from the bottom without removing the body.
Okay.
That's the only thing that's why there is this stuff.
Okay, so basically those are holding the nuts from turning.
Yeah,
correct.
So
okay,
these are green nut here. Yeah.
Yep. Nope. That makes sense now. All right. Any other questions for Gio?
Yeah. What's the offset on the stock pod, Gio?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Look up the specs.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look. It's the standard one, and I think at the moment they have 2 versions. There is a green one and a black one. So maybe, I don't know, it might be a 0.5 and a 1. I mean.
Yeah, I don't remember what you told us at the time that you was out here.
All right. Thank you, Gio. Next up is Mr. Rose. Go ahead, Jim.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're starting to get serious about the slotted nationals. And so give you a little update on some of the stuff I'm doing. I'm looking for that silver bullet. And so I'm working on the Jaguar XJR 12. And so I got a white kit, threw some quote British racing green on it, a little bit brighter than real British racing green. And been testing it, and so far it's testing pretty darn fast. So we'll see how it goes. We got another test tonight and a test on Friday, and then getting close to the race. So here's what I have so far. The Nissans seem to be the choice of most people I've talked to, but we'll have to just wait and see. So it's going to be a fun race. We'll see Dennis down there. A couple of guys from Northern California are on the chat today, Jerry and Mario. They're going. So we're going to have a great time and a good group of people.
Is this one the old Jaguar? Or is it
XJR
new
12.
Jaguar?
It's the XJR 12.
Yeah, so, oh, okay. So when was it released by Slotted?
I don't know.
Also, this might be the kind of one of the old bodies, right? That weighs quite a lot. But...
Well, the reason for the XJR 12, last year the XJR 10 dominated, but there was a lot of reasons for it. One of the reasons was that it's 3 millimeters wider than any other Group C car. And this year, the new rules do not, well, you have to put the wheel skirts on the XJR 10. Which narrows it about 4 millimeters, because you have to narrow it even further because the pod movement, you don't want the tires to hit the inside of the skirts. So it's significantly narrower than it was last year. Now, that being said, the other Jaguars are also 65 millimeters wide. They're not as long as the 10, but they're as wide. And they are not under the skirt requirements. So the difference between these two cars here is the Nissan is just a little bit longer in guide lead, but the Jaguar is 3 millimeters wider in rear track. So it'll be interesting to see which one's better.
What about the new Porsche? The
new Porsche is still 62 millimeters, so it's not any wider than any other car except the Jaguars. But it is slightly longer than the other 960. You're talking about the one with a separate wing, the 962C.
Because basically,
it has a slightly longer guide lead than the other 956, 962 variations. So it's a different chassis, a little bit longer. I haven't tried one. Going for long, I'm going for the Nissans, because the Nissans are also the lightest. They're the lightest bodies of all the Group C cars. So that's why the consensus seems to be that it's going to be a Nissan. I think if the Jaguar XJR 10 did not exist last year, the semi mains would have been filled with Nissans, but we'll have to see what happens this year.
Jim, is it just the photo, or does the Jag look that much wider than the Nissan?
Well, part of it's the photo, but it's 3 millimeters wider in the rear. So
so you're looking for that Penske advantage then, right?
I'm looking for that silver bullet that nobody's thought of, and now that I've told everybody about it, everybody's thought about it. I know the guys down there, Rick and Walt, and I'm not sure about Dennis. They've been trying the XJR 12s. XJR 9 is the same dimensions because it's basically the same car. So the XJR 9/12, the body is slightly different, but I think the real cars were the same, I believe. It's just the engine was different and slight body modifications.
Slight modifications to the body. Like the 12s have a big scoop on the roof.
But I think the monocoque underneath there are basically the same, literally the same car. So that's where we're at, working on cars for the Slotted Nationals. 72 entries. Another friend of mine just got in yesterday because he was, I think, the first alternate, and he was accepted. I guess somebody backed out. So we'll have a good contingent for Northern California going down there. Another thing
one of the stuff that you mentioned that the body is light in the Nissan, but I think another advantage is that there is no much rear overhang compared to most of the other Group C, because there is only the light, wing here, and this Jaguar as well as this new Porsche.
Yeah, that's part of it. The biggest reason for the Nissan, in my opinion, besides the lightweight, it has the longest guide lead. It's 101 millimeters, which is compared to the Porsche 956 at about 96 millimeters. It's considerably longer than most of the other cars out there. So it's very stable on the Electric Dreams track. So we'll see. We'll just see. I'm going for the shorter with a wider rear track on the Jaguar. See if it'll go around the tighter corners faster and still have the stability because of the extra width. But we won't know till we get down there. Another thing I was working on, I showed some of this stuff a couple of weeks or about a month ago. I was working on 3D stuff, and I've always been looking for the perfect pit caddy. And I was trying to 3D print my own or work on the drawings. I found the perfect pit caddy. These are $2.99. These are $2.99 at Walmart. Walmart's my new go-to store for slot car parts. And when you play with this, it becomes that. You have to put that interior, that lining on the bottom, because the hole on the previous, you see there's a hole for the brush. So you have to fill that hole up. And so I just put a foam liner in it, plastic. I hand cut those that insert on top. I'm going to drop that a little bit lower, but there's a ridge on the top and it fit in very nicely. But once I put it together, I don't think it was the right way to do it. So what I ended up is that.
Nice.
There's a spot. I take the rollers and I take the handle out of the roller because I always knock them over. And so with that, I could also put my lane stickers on the inside of the core of the roller. And this fits inside my pit box standing up, except for the lint roller. I have to take it out and lay it down. But the other three, that just goes right into my pit box, and I can pull it out and use it as a pit caddy. And so it doesn't fall over the oil, and the braided juice doesn't fall over when I'm transporting my pit box. So that worked out really well. So that's $2.99 at Walmart, and a couple little things, the insert on the top and the insert on the bottom, and you've got a pit caddy, and it's really cheap and actually very functional.
Now, is that a kitchen thing or a?
Yes, it's a kitchen sink. I think they call it a kitchen sink something holder.
Of some sort, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
It's available at Walmart.
Yeah.
And so a couple of weeks ago, I think I showed that that box that I use for tires holds 10 sets of tires. That's also at Walmart.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a video on those two products. That Walmart's now my go-to store for slot car parts, and they also have lighter fluid. In California, where I'm at, not all of the drugstores nowadays carry the yellow can Ronson lighter fluid. It's kind of hard to find, and Walmart carries it. So,
yeah, I do want to point out that testament to that Toyota that when we had our Far Out Club race, Eddie Shore had that car, and he won by a landslide. I had the same car, but I finished in last place. But nonetheless,
which car?
The short tail 962.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, the Toyota.
Well, that's a whole different car. The Toyota is the same width. I've done extensive research on dimensions of slotted Group C cars. Got a spreadsheet. I won't bore you with that, but they're all 62 millimeters wide, except for the Jaguars. The Nissan is 101 millimeters long guide lead. The Toyota is about 99.
I meant Nissan. I'm sorry, I just misspoke. I meant the Nissan. He went with the Nissan. He went with the Nissan, and it was by landslide.
The Toyota is similar, but it's not as light, and the guide lead is about 90. I think it's 99 millimeters, so it's still a hair shorter and heavier. That's why I don't think you'll see too many Toyotas. Yeah. So,
is the Nissan R89C and R90V is the same thing, just a different
they're the same thing.
Name. Okay. And then do you have to run with the wheel well covers on them? No?
Nope. The only one you have to run with the wheel skirts is the XJR10.
Okay. And then what kind of tires did you put on it? Do you have to pick a slotted tire?
You ask about tires?
Yeah, I don't want to take any of your secrets, but is it a slotted tire?
Well, if you
or
saw
do you have to use whatever you
video,
want?
I did a video that went out yesterday, and the go-to tire, there's all kinds of variations, and you'll see all kinds of tires and wheels down there.
Okay,
but
that's
pretty much the go-to tire is the 15.8 by 10.2 air wheel, and either 5207, 5211, or 5213 NSR rubber.
Okay.
That's all ultra grip.
And you don't think the super grips are better than the ultra?
No, they're definitely not better, but sometimes they are faster because they don't have as much grip. And so it depends on the track conditions. If the track gets really sticky, super grips could work. But every time we've gone down there, we've run ultra grips on every race I've been to there. We've run ultra grips.
Thank you. Suggested. Okay, excellent.
So quick segue into, not really doing a show and tell, but I've shown the car that I'm going to race at the Nationals before, and I'm halfway through the build because I'm still waiting for the motor and a couple other parts before I spend time on tires and everything.
Motors went out yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I actually talked to Electric Dreams today to get some tires in on with my motor. Yesterday. Now you made me forget what I was going to say. Oh yeah. So the motor that's in this car is like what came with the car back in the day, right? It's just
Yeah.
a white end bell. What are the specs on this motor? Is it like an 18K?
No, it's a 21 or 23.
21. Is this known to have shit brakes?
No.
No,
Okay, because I'm worried because I had to turn my brakes all the way up and it still didn't feel like it had as much brakes as other cars do.
What gearing have you got on it?
I've got your recommended 23.
Oh, and on your track with the 23, it probably will feel like it's got no brakes.
and
Well,
if the motor is so old, the magnets may be weak.
Okay, so I'll chalk
Yeah,
it up.
don't read too much into it. You'll have plenty with the handout motor and a 23 gear. You'll have enough brakes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping for is that this motor is not gonna be like the motor we're actually racing. so yeah.
Are you gonna use a standard? I mean, the handout motors are gonna be the standard motors for Group C,
Yes.
or the okay, yeah, because they changed. Although the motor specs remain the same, or the name, I think they changed it. The new motors, I think, have a bit more RPM. So if you're gonna get these new motors, I mean, we talked about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna get a spec motor, I mean, then you should be fine.
Yeah, you will be fine. Everybody's getting a spec motor, and they're all coming out of the same batch.
And last year we had the same thing, and I never heard one complaint about motors.
No, not one.
Yeah.
The only complaint is that we can't use last year's motors for this year, and that's because they have to come out of the same batch.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not really worried about my motor being better or worse than anybody else's motor. I'm just like, is this really the kind of brakes I should be expecting on that track? And
No.
the answer is no. So I'm okay now.
Yeah,
I ordered
I
3
couldn't
motors
deal with
last
it,
year.
but if everybody's having to deal with the same situation, then that's fine. But I'm like, man, I wish I had a little bit more brakes because on that, I mean, we were racing on Rogers track when I was doing actual track testing with this, and it's a 24-foot long plastic track, so the straightaway is a good, at least 20 feet of pure straight, probably 21 or 22.
Maybe even a little more than electric dreams.
Possibly, yeah. But it's a nice long enough straight that I figured this was relatively a good place to test it as far as how the car performs and all. But it's still plastic, so again, I'm not done with the testing with the building and stuff. So, but yeah, I'm basically gonna do everything that you've been suggesting, which is more or less what Jim is doing too. And yeah,
Does your chassis have like a grub screw for the front?
Yeah, this is the Evo chassis. I replaced it with the Evo chassis. Yeah.
Okay.
I did have an additional question for the Electric Dreams upcoming nationals. Controllers. I never heard anybody talk anything about controllers. Does anyone have anything they'd like to suggest on the ideal or better controller to?
What about it?
Whatever works for you.
Hey, trust speed Apex controller.
There you go. We can't use the Silage Racing because it's got a battery in it, even though it doesn't transfer power to the track.
But that's so much bullshit, man.
I'm going to use my SCP controller. So.
Well, that's what I was planning on bringing down is my SCP-3. It is with the radio, with the wireless, or do you have that?
Because that would qualify as a battery in the controller.
Okay, so I have the wired. Okay.
But I would not recommend the SCP-3. The last time I tested an SCP-3 on analog, and I don't think there's been firmware since then, even if you have your controller turned on, which you'll need to have it turned on, even though it gets power from the track, you need to make sure the switch is either in linear or curve, not in the off position. There is about a quarter second to a half second delay while the controller boots up. So you're not going to get the whole shot ever, which might be beneficial, as an amateur driver, but it's annoying when you're holding your trigger and the power comes on and everybody else's car goes and then your car goes. So that's why I'm using my SCP-2 with the high amp controller cartridge.
So, but just to be clear, Craig, so basically you're talking about like plugging in the cartridge into the track and then switching on. I mean, okay. But if you would plug if the controller is still on and you would plug the cartridge on a new kind of lane, are you gonna have the same delay?
Yeah, because when the controller has no power, because you have an analog.
No. Oh, I mean, okay, I'm talking about the SP3 with the battery, not with the
How is that going to do an analog track?
Well, I mean, okay, okay, I see what you mean. I mean, I was thinking, given that you have, SCP-free wireless.
If you do it with the CRI,
that's what I was thinking. Okay.
Yeah, if you do it with the CRI, it's not a problem because the CRI boots up instantly, and the SCP-3 is already booted. That works fine. There's no delay at all, but there is a short delay when you're using the analog cartridge direct in the handle to the track because of the very quick but delayed boot up of the controller. So
I thought the latest firmware corrected that, Greg.
I thought I was trying the latest firmware, but I'll double check to make sure.
I had made a post where I added a cell phone battery, you charge your cell phone from, and you plug it into the USB port so you have power on the controller at all times. And Maurizio was like, you don't need to do that. We fixed this. And it seems to be the case because I race on a 94-foot wood track, and I haven't noticed that delay like I had in the past.
Okay, so
just check it.
Yeah. But you have had an SCP-3 with an analog cartridge in the handle, plugged in
cartridge, yeah.
Analog track that has a dead start.
Correct.
And when you hold the trigger and the power comes on, the car goes.
Correct.
Okay, I'll test that again. Hopefully that's the case, Dewan, and you can use that controller. I'll test that tonight.
Juan, are you looking to buy a controller, or what are you?
I wasn't, but I might have to. That's what I'm kind of on the border here with.
Well, this is obviously an opinion, but in my mind, this is the best controller for the money, and I don't use it, but and they have it in stock at Electric Dreams. You go down there and buy it when you get there.
Okay. All right.
So that's
a really
others, but that's really hard to beat for the money and works great.
Mm-hmm.
I used one last year.
Very good controller.
It's basically brakes and sensitivity, or does it have more than that?
That's traction
control too.
Traction control too?
Yeah.
I mean, Duan, so if you have an SCP-2 or 3 controller, you have more than enough. Which controller do you use?
I have an SCP-3. I have a couple of SCP-3s.
I think, man, the actual limitation is you, not the controller. So, but if you want to spend more money on controller, you're more than welcome to do so. All right? I mean, but the USB-3, I think.
It's not the controller. It's me that's going to win or lose the race.
And for our next lesson in brutal honesty, we turn to.
Just take a Cox thumb controller, you'll be fine.
I have this too.
I mean, last year I was willing to buy a whole nother controller, even though I didn't need one because I didn't have one because I wanted to give Dennis a better chance.
Oh,
I didn't have it.
You did well on my old controller.
I did as well as I thought I could do. That's for sure.
Yeah, you did great.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for that. I did want some tidbits on that. I appreciate it.
All right. Any other questions regarding the slot at Nationals or Jim's build or what I'm doing?
I have one.
Okay, go ahead.
So did they change are the tires limited in width this year?
No.
No? Is it? I was reading the rules last night. That's what I read was, because I know on the Jaguars you could run really wide tires last year. But that's not the case.
There's a no beyond fender rule, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing can stick out. And there was some discussion because initially in the rules when I think the second version of the rules came out that had those general technical rules attached to it, there was a clause in there that said that the tire could not extend beyond the rim, and that caused a little bit of a howl down here until Marco realized that virtually every tire ever made extends beyond any rim that it's ever mounted on, and that includes full size, to say nothing about everything that we race with rubber tires on slot cars. So I very much doubt that there's going to be an issue with that.
The realistic limit is on all of the cars that I have, except the Jaguar, about the widest tire patch you can get underneath them without hitting the chassis is about 12.2 to 12.3 millimeters. So it's kind of self-policing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you have an overall width, and then you've got to clear the chassis on the inside with any pod movement.
Yeah. So when you get to about 12.4 millimeter tire width, then it starts hitting the inside of the chassis on one side. Now that's not true of the Silver Bullet because it is wider. I can run a 13 millimeter tire under that car.
Yeah, please do.
The Silver Bullet meaning the XJR10 or?
Yeah.
No, 12.
Whichever. The one, the
Yeah, the green one.
Please do.
Okay.
And one other comment, Jim was talking about lighter fluid being available. An alternative chemical to use is if you go to a paint shop and you buy what's called like Prep Solve or something like that. It's a cleaner, it's a degreaser that they use for prepping a body prior to paint, and it's a wonderful tire cleaner. You can buy a gallon really cheap. So
what's its main ingredient?
Naphtha, I think.
I mean, if that's the main ingredient.
Naphtha is lighter fluid.
So. Yeah. So that makes sense.
But I mean, yeah, you can buy it a lot cheaper than a little can of lighter fluid.
Yeah.
Oh, you
just
could
refill
still,
your
you could
can.
go down to the grocery store and buy some barbecue fire starter.
Yeah. Regular old Kingsford.
That's what I use.
All right, I think we're ready to move on. Dennis, what you got?
Let me change my camera.
Well, what do we have here?
So, Gio was showing can you guys still hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, Gio was showing the new Scale Auto Porsche. This is the SRC older Porsche. This is the 919, which they have out in the Chrono, what they call a Chrono version white kit. I've already screwed the body together. It's amazing how similar these things are, because it has exactly the same idea of that front clip that's separate, that's screwed on with two screws. The chassis is a little different in that it has a different mounting system. There's like a pivot up front here, and then there are springs on the sides, and then there's a couple of springs right underneath the back end here. So it has 2, 4, 5 point mounting. It runs, for example, a 2 millimeter carbon fiber front axle, and the wheels are these funny little double plastic moldings that push together to form the wheel. The gears and so on are pretty nice. The whole car is very nice. The body, I put it on the scale, and the body complete with all the pieces that have still got to go onto it come in at 15.7 grams.
Oh, wow.
For Wayne and Gio. It does come, this one for a change, when they made their Toyota, they didn't have wheel inserts, but this one has wheel inserts for a change. And then it has a set of what are kind of generic decals. They're not from a particular race, but there's enough there that if you want to do some decent painting, you can probably get a pretty good idea. So that's what I'm up to. What else? Hollow rear axle, ball bearings in the back. The pod has a piece that screws in where the axle mounts are, where the bearing mounts are. They screw in with 4 screws along the bottom, and and there are 4 of them provided in the kit with offsets ranging from, I think, 0.5 millimeters all the way up to 1.1 millimeters. This is the 1.1.
That's the old sideways style.
Not only do they do that, but they also provide you with a 0.5 millimeter shim that fits in between the two, so you could actually set it up with intermediate heights depending on the combination of bearing bracket and shim that you use. So there's quite a lot of work being done there. Like the Scale Auto, the rear tires feel pretty grippy. I'm going to modify the rear wheels so I can put foam inside them. The front tires are nice and hard, very, very small, obviously. Typical what Bob Schleicher from Model Car Magazine always used to call a Euro racer, where they're way smaller than they need to be to fit into the wheel arch. The rears are a lot better because it's a 17mm wheel. So that's what I've got for today.
Yeah, I mean, I have the first kit that they released, the one without inserts, and you had to pay awful amount for buying the right insert, which I bought. I never built it because basically it was never gonna fly within the disc type of competition because it's oversized. I say, okay, screw it. I mean, maybe one day when I'm really bored or almost close to death, I will build it one just for the sake of it.
Was that the Toyota or the Porsche?
Yeah, sorry, the Toyota, yes.
The Toyota,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. So basically that was the one that they released the first. So I was planning, to have like building a class of it, but when the Scale Auto announced that it was gonna come with the Le Mans hybrid, which are the class running right now, I said okay. And plus they cost less and they're still, I think, a better performer than SRC. So I mean there is no much question asked there. So I think I will be sticking with the Scale Auto stuff.
Okay. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you guys what's happening here.
To see that get built up. And somebody was commenting, I think it was on Facebook as usual, complaining that the decals that it came with wasn't a full real life livery. And I'm like, bro, they pretty much never come with any decals. So it's pretty nice that you can slap some paint on there and throw some decals on there and have it look like a legit car.
The Toyota, I think it came.
Toyota came with a full set of decals.
Which you built, right, Dennis? You told us that had like a huge amount of small decals to fit.
But still, I mean, most white kits don't come with any decals. You got to go find your own from some other source.
Yes.
And hope that they are designed to fit that particular car and not some.
So was it? The person complaining was one of the YouTube experts out there?
No, but it was probably on the same group.
But Gio, for you, there was music playing as they complained.
All right. Thanks for the joke, John. Moving on. Mr. Dodd, what you got?
I didn't get this joke, but I'm sorry. That must be me. But other people were laughing, so okay.
So here's the Toyota.
The BMW, this one is. From Korea.
M4, yeah. Beautiful car, man.
Again,
heavy.
It is heavy.
Well, it's Carrera, you know.
That's
yeah, but it's 135 grams.
Heavy for Carrera?
Yeah.
It's a big boy, it is.
But they are usually that very heavy as the original car too. You know?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
That's 132nd, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah, you can use as an unconventional weapon.
Or to go against Continental, right?
I can't take it off the box because you need a pair of pliers to undo the bottom screw.
Yeah.
They're just so tight.
The tray, the
but it's
interior tray on that thing.
It's the
interior tray on that thing extends from the front nose to the rear end. It's just a complete separate entire piece in there. They've got all of the grill pieces and everything are in one piece. It's really terrible from that standpoint.
So there's probably a lot of easy.
But it's a nice car. It's a nice looking car. I agree.
It's a lovely
Yeah.
car.
I'm waiting for the sideways one. Hopefully they're gonna release it, but I don't know.
Now
Oh, no.
it's
This is the
Corvette?
NSR.
And it's all
Mercedes.
AMG.
Oh, Mercedes. Okay.
So this is that kind of a big messed up that NSR did. So the front one is the Evo version, but the rear one is still the older version. So it's not a
Oh,
real
that was
car.
their screw. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the current. Yeah, this is the previous version of the rear.
From NSR, that one is. And that's me done. Thank you very much.
All righty. Thank you, Martin. And Gio put his hand back up.
I did find that Toyota.
Okay.
Show us.
He's working on it. Oh wow. I remember. Yeah.
I had to do a fair amount of painting, and I did a lot of the painting with like a gunmetal metallic gray rather than black, just to be different. But the decals that are on it are what was supplied by SRC with that car. Now this one, the wheels.
Oh, what's those wheels, those inserts, man?
Those inserts are NSR.
NSR. Stop the show and tell, please. I feel sick.
The reason for it was that there were no inserts available at the time.
Yes.
And and with a 2mm wheel at the front, the only thing that I could do was to buy some NSR 2mm wheels, and then find some inserts that fitted. So that's what's on the car. And now probably these new ones that come from SRC for the Porsche, they may well be close. I don't know.
Is that BBS?
No, it's not a BBS. It's something close to a BBS, but it's not a BBS.
Yeah, but they're not the correct one for the Toyota. Sorry, Dennis.
No, I
don't care.
Quite aware of that. I'll have to do I will do some more research for Gio, and I will update that car, and I will let you know when I have updated it, if I ever bother.
All right, thanks for that. And
Make it in your background just to torture Gio with it.
yeah.
I'm gonna cancel you guys. I'm gonna cancel you.
Oh no.
Anyway.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to.
Okay. Starting a new series, a new group.
No, this is a
914.
914s, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, 914 Carrera 6.
Carrera 6.
I think that.
I didn't know.
Yeah, or they called them 914 6s. They actually had a proper Porsche motor in them. Yeah, that's right.
But factory cars was Carrera 6. 914.
Okay, what's a Carrera 6? It's a kind of it's a rally.
It's a 6-cylinder engine that was the same engine they used to Porsche 911 RS.
Yes,
it's a 2.7 engine.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So these are two kits from SRC. So I posted this on our private Facebook group, right? So these are two versions of the Chrono kit that is coming from, produced by SRC, right? So which one is which? So the one here, so at the bottom, is the one that I think was first released by SRC. So it comes with M7 motor, which I think is 21 RPM, 21k RPMs. Comes with two different rear tires and one set of front tires. suspension all in the already included, and it has an 11/27, I think. And this one on the top, I think, is what they call upgrade kit. And this one is an M6 motor, which is a 20K, and the rear gearing is a 10/24, I believe. And so if you do 11/27, is I think it's similar kind of gearing. Maybe it is a bit longer than this one. And so, you know, I was asking out there if you guys have any experience playing around with these two kits. I mean, I think Jeremy has the old one, or the M7, let's call it this way. And yeah, I think these are actually out of the box of this stuff. I mean, I don't like SRC. Usually, even the Chrono version that had the experience before, there was a Capri, they were really crap. In fact, I throw it away, the chassis, whatever, and put like a 3D printed one. But actually, this stuff goes pretty well. I mean, I have like the 914, the full decorated version, not Chrono, which is not, you know, the best car out there, but still can make laps around my truck without going crazy. And that guy, in that case, is a sidewinder configuration. Everything is a plastic and crappy, but still can make a lap. I think the tires are good. But this stuff, actually, the Chrono version, it's pretty nice on my Scalati truck. So I was wondering if you guys, these two kits are still available, although I think they're running out, because I would like to buying the cars and make like a small class a digital class for my group here. So I don't know if you guys have any experience with these cars.
Did you have any input on that, or is he misremembering something?
So I talked about this with him earlier. I have that one on the left, but I can't tell. Yeah, there. One on the left has like a whitish gray plastic. One on the right has red, but I don't know if that's any difference. That has to be what you're paying for, is the red, whatever they make it out of. And red goes faster. Actually, I don't know. It's a different material, maybe.
I don't know. The red one, I mean, the one on the top actually is cheaper than the one at the bottom.
Oh, okay. So you're paying for the gray. I'm glad I got the right one.
Yeah, the one I have also has the clear parts, the clear guide, and the clear suspension parts, and the motor with the purple printing.
And the motor?
With the purple, the M7.
Ah, the purple. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I have too. The only thing that I did note when I was grinding the tires, the tires work pretty good. You just got to be careful of grinding them because they're kind of loose fit on the wheel. Probably a good idea to glue them to the wheel. I tried to do them without gluing them, and you had to be very, very careful. But once they're around, they grip pretty well.
Well, actually, out of the box, I didn't do any, throwing or gluing or anything. I mean, they have a good grip, so I think I'm gonna keep it like that in order to make sure that it's kind of as a close to standard. Yeah. So, but while I was kind of running the cars around, then the one with the purple motor, the M7, the one at the bottom, basically the powertrain seized up. And then looking at it closely, it seems that the shaft of the motor, because it's inside the slot here in the gear, basically was like kind of collecting, bits.
My one, the one that I have has a black gear, and it has a brass or a bronze boss. So what's happening is that the aluminum and the steel on that one, that you have the steel's picking up on the aluminum, and they're seizing. You have to make sure that it's all clean and make sure that there's some oil or preferably some grease in there.
So basically,
to some of the guys last night, we were testing our Moslers, and most of them have the aluminum boss black gear in them. Yeah. And one of the guys had already lost a gear, and a guy during the race on that night lost a gear. We had greased the gears, so that it should not have done it, but it basically just got worse and worse until it literally fused the crown gear boss to the motor shaft.
And what's happening probably is that the guys have got too much side play in the axle, and so you're allowing the gear to move sideways.
It's that, I mean, it's how it comes, right? There's no
You
space.
welded it.
It's just the crown gear that keeps it from going side to side.
On the Mosler?
Yeah.
Are there no spaces on the axle
No.
like they are in the Formula One?
No.
I've never actually looked at an inline Mosler, so I don't know.
My brand new one.
But I know that on the NSR Formula Ones, which presumably use the same gear, that the way to be sure that it doesn't eat its gear or doesn't seize up the axle eventually is to make sure that there is basically absolutely no play in side in the axle at all, but that there's no drag.
But we're basically going to change the spec to allow any crown gear with a proper number of teeth. Just get whatever you want, and or spacers so that you can set the mesh and not have it.
Or both.
So what I
or both,
what I did basically, I mean, here there is like collet or whatever that you can. It's only on one side that you can block. Only one side basically, right? You cannot you will need another one on this other side. But what I did was I kind of coned the motor shaft with a disc, Dremel disc, what's called the one with the diamonds. Yeah. So basically I did reduce the diameter of the stuff of the shaft going out from the pinion, and solve the problem so far. So kind of they're pretty. Also the cars, the details of the kit are pretty nice. So
are they both metal wheels? Both cars have metal wheels all around?
Yes.
Because I looked at mine, and mine has the things that keep the rear axle in suspension. Mine are black. Yours are clear and red. Maybe they're just running out of material and printing what they've got, or the factory is changing colors. Mine are black, and I don't get it. Yeah, weird.
I don't know.
What was the price difference?
I think it's
bucks?
around 10 pounds.
About 10 pounds difference. Okay. Maybe it's just the motor you're paying for. Everything else is the same.
But this one is under spec compared to. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I see what you say. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe because there is an extra set of tires. That's why you're paying a bit more. Oh, look at Dennis' car. Okay, let me show. Does he have NSR inserts? No, huh? Because
these are the stock wheels that came with it. These are aluminum wheels with all that machining.
Yep.
They're actually they're very, very nice.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, that's the right wheel for the car, isn't it, Gio?
Yes, correct.
The Fuchs wheel.
Yeah, the Fuchs wheel. Yeah. They're beautiful wheels. Actually, I'm trying to buy them separate as well. Just the wheels, and they're freaking expensive.
Yeah.
Wow, nice. Yeah.
That's a fun little car. It actually runs pretty good.
It is. Yeah. Can you show me the bottom of your car, please? Okay, you have a black stuff there, yeah.
A black gear with a bronze boss.
Yeah, and the nice thing is that whatever it's in the box, you can use it to run as well. So you don't need to do anything.
There's nothing extra that you need.
Yeah, and lightweight interior as well with the details.
Yeah, all vacuum
or the Carrera 6 engine as well. You can see that from the grille on the rear. The only thing is that so I tried to put a chip on it, and there is I think a 1 or 2 mil but 1 or 2 mil basically does not fit properly. But I think that what I can do is to trim a bit the rear what's called the stuff that is holding the motor from the rear, not from the front. So if because there are some extra supports, so if I trim them down at the bottom, I think I can slide the chip into it. I should be able to fit properly, even be too cheap. So Let's see. But so these kits are kind of, running out, right? I mean, they're not being produced anymore. Do you know anything about it, Dennis? Disappeared. Is he still there?
He's muted, but he might not know.
He's muted. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah.
I'm
That's
sorry. No, I don't know.
Okay.
There's our answer. All right. Jeremy, what you got?
Okay, let me share my screen here. Hopefully this works. Am I sharing over here on the left?
Yes, you are.
So these are another Garth wheel. It fits a Ninco Classic. You want to switch to Fuchs wheels, whatever it is, Feng Shui. Now this is from a Racer Sideways Fuchs wheel, but they're actually the same size. It's just kind of nice to have an option here. So some of my Ninco Classic Porsches I can convert to Fuchs wheels. Let me see if I can. Oops, nope. Get out of this. The other thing I wanted to share is I 3D printed a
Arbor press. That's awesome.
Arbor press for the wheels, because with the wheels being so hard to, like, the tolerances are so tight that if you push the metal into one of these wheels that I make, if you go at a weird angle, then you're screwed, because then it's going to always want to go in at that weird angle. So I'll show that here in a second. And then last, I have some inserts here that Garth had made. Now these inserts were made for 1/43rd scale, so they're very tiny, you can see. But you can scale them up to any size you want. So this was, I'm not sure what Garth calls these, but they're like a modern wheel. And then he has an old time steel wheel from like NASCAR or something. And then down here, these are just like a Krager wheel, but I tried to chrome these and the chrome pen doesn't dry as well as I'd like it to. So I'm gonna have to figure out something better for that. But anyway, somebody wanted these wheels special made, and so Garth did it. I printed them up, sent them out. So I'm working on a website right now, so Garth and I can start getting these to people, because I think the demand is there from like nerdy racers in 1/32nd who want their own custom inserts for something, but nobody's ever going to make weird stuff like that. Did I stop sharing? Let's see.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, sorry. My camera is on. So like on my wheel press, this was kind of stupid. What I did was somebody just made this arbor press for 3D printing. And then what I did was I took this part, instead of it being flat, I made it for a 3/32nd hole in there. And so when you press down, obviously straight on the wheel, you'll get this wheel in, perfectly flat, because it'll hit the bottom. Then on this part here, on the circle, I made it like 18 millimeter and then a step to 17, 16, 15, 14. So any size wheel you put in here from the top, then you put it in, and then you go to the bottom wheel, and then you can have both wheels on there perfect. Once you have both wheels on there perfect, then you just take them off and on, because you don't got to worry about it going into that angle and jacking it up. So that is my show and tell.
That is awesome, dude.
Thanks, bud.
Can you share the link to the Arbor Press model, and are you going to post a remix of that arm so that
I was planning on doing the remix and getting so people can do it. The only thing is that he used when he made it, he made plastic screws. I'm thinking, after actually playing with your tire truer, there's probably a better way to make these, like with metal through there, and then that would also give a little more stability on. I mean, it works, but I don't like to, when I press the wheel, I just kind of nudge it, and then I press it from the top a little, because I don't want to rip any plastic out of there.
Gotcha.
But there's ways to beef it up.
Can you modify that press to be also puller? Because even if you're gonna pull the wheel,
you know what I could do? I don't know how it would work, but I could put a hole in the bottom.
Yeah.
And then you would stick the wheel in like this way. But then you'd have to have something to grip it and pull it up that way. I don't know if that would work. I mean, you might as well spend $20 and buy a gear puller or something, and use it for a wheel puller.
Can you pull a wheel from that with that stuff? Because you have to make a hole through those inserts.
It's gonna be tough. I mean, it's gonna be tough.
I mean,
know
come
what
on,
you're saying.
man. You are a 3D print designer. Come on, what's tough?
The toughest part is having the material. When you're putting stress on this lever and pulling it out of there, that's a lot of stress on a piece of plastic. I mean, I can start doing better material here, but I mean, this part here is really solid. I mean, the way he designed it with extra inserts here, everything is great. It's just a few things that need tuned up. Maybe I'll send it to Greg, and because Greg's really better at this than I am. He might come up with something.
I'm just seeing excuses here. Come on,
I
we
know
don't
you
need
are.
this.
I know, but it works. I mean, it's a little wheel arbor press. This one's probably too big. I could go a little lower if I wanted, but it works.
Perfect, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can I ask for a DIY to get the same result without having the arbor press or a pillar drill?
Yeah, I sent Wayne some wheels, and I told him I can't think of any way to press these on, because you have to press them on straight. If you, like I said, if you screw it up once, you're done. That's why I sent you extra, Wayne. But I don't know of any other way to, like, maybe with a gear puller, you could stick the wheel in here and then like press it down slowly. That's the only thing I can think of, but you have to have a lot of room for a 50mm axle.
I would say like
That's true. I don't think
a good quality clamp where both sides are perfectly parallel all the time, but that's going to be expensive. That's not going to be DIY.
Right. Yeah.
I don't.
bench
Well,
vise
I mean,
would be ideal. Would do it then.
Like a C clamp, maybe like a larger C clamp.
Yeah, I mean those are.
Oh,
those
they
are
tend to have
designed
wobbly
for-
feet, don't they?
Yeah, the one
They
of
do
the,
have wobbly,
one of the
yeah.
ends is usually a wobbly. Yeah, and then so
Before I made this,
the little the long bar clamps that kind of have a compressor thing.
Well, before I made this, what I was using is, I have a drill press, but on the drill press is a thing to clamp the parts in.
Yeah.
And it was like $25 at Harbor Freight, and then it's actually flat on all sides, but it was huge and heavy. It's like cast iron, and it was a pain.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to try and reach out to my local community, find out where there's a drill press I can go and have a go with.
Yeah, I haven't seen any cheap arbor presses on AliExpress either. They're all like $50. So.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll start cruising the industrial space.
Harbor Freight has one, but it's also not cheap. It's like $75. Like that.
Yeah. All right, that's my show and tell, and I'll let you know when our website's up and running.
Awesome. Look forward to that. All right, so
and then when I get on top of it, I'll show the wheels that Garth designed and got printed for me and posted over to the UK. It's phenomenal, really. What's possible within this group.
Yep. Okay, so we got a little bit of time left for Club Corner, but I'm gonna do a quick show and tell. No, gosh darn it, need to be ready. There we go. This will only take a moment. So I forgot to talk about the race a week and a half ago at Russ's. It was the last race of the Scalextric BTCC series, and as you guys might remember, on Russ's track we race with a live start, and you get a 10-second dead penalty if you jump the start before the green. So I'm not sure if it's visible over here, but maybe a shadow of it. But on the far right side is the guy who first jumped the green, and he went full speed, so he got a bit of a coast. And then all three other guys laughed at him, and they're like, ha, 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 ha. And then one of them twitches, and then all three of the rest of them jump the green. So these cars are all dead stopped with no power. All four people jump the green and are just sitting there on the track going, damn, we're stupid. It was hilarious, and it was long enough for me to take my phone out, open up the camera app, and take a snapshot before the power came back on and they started running away. So that was hilarious. Had to share that.
So it's an immediate 10 seconds, right?
It's an immediate 10-second penalty. They basically lose power immediately and then just have to wait around until it comes back. And it's usually at least a lap and a half for most cars. So yeah, don't do that.
And that was the custom software by the guy that no longer exists that embedded that. Is there any other software that does that?
I'm sure there probably is.
Wow.
But yeah, this is a combination between the custom software that's no longer being developed and his Arduino things that control the power and the timing and stuff. So he's probably got some Arduino code in the power relay thing. But yeah, I mean, talk to Russ. He's got a slot car Facebook, and you can always message him on Facebook and all that. I'm sure he'd be happy to talk about it. the night before last, we started our Mosler series, but before that, we ran an IRRA race of Scalextric GT cars, stock out of the box, stock tires, so with magnet on the plastic track. So they were going fast, and this crash was just hilarious because I think the Jag took out whatever that is.
Maserati.
Maserati, there we go. And then they ended up like this, so I had to take a picture of that. Jag literally up in the air on fences, and stuck with his wing over the wall. But yeah, and then like I said, then we had the Moslers, and cars were running shitty, and people were losing gears, and yeah, well, changing the spec on that. Anyway, that's it for me. Does anybody else have any club-related activity they'd like to talk about? If so, raise your virtual hand and I'll call on you. Otherwise, we'll open up the floor to whatever. Still got 20 minutes to waste. All right,
Anybody
go ahead,
want to see Alfa Romeo? Anybody want to see Alfa Romeo?
Yes, I would like to see the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, go ahead.
To see if I have any power left in my telephone. Oh.
Oh, did I spotlight Geo on accident? Oh, let me go back. Okay, here we go. Spotlight. There we go.
Nice.
It's little dusty, but oh, nice car.
Yeah. That's
under it.
Yeah, of course. There we go.
That's beautiful.
Some other car.
A German chassis.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
Very, very nice.
Oh, it's paint design kit and the work chassis under it. And now we work on my and Dennis things.
Yeah, Krista and I are running in a 5-liter endurance race in Germany at the end of August. So he's busy with the car for that.
Oh,
Show them the interior.
That's happening.
We can see if we do like that.
Nope. No, we don't want to see that.
My telephone is not working today. Or maybe the owner is not working.
All right, thanks for showing that off, Krista.
He's busy with he's busy with a 917 Porsche that we're going to run, and he was showing the interior the other day, and the amount of detail these guys put into their cars, just absolutely amazing. There you go.
Spotlight.
Yeah, just look at that. All the
takes me a second, Gio. Jiminy Christmas.
All the wiring and the belts. And
Carbon rear end.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That,
we're gonna go and run
that
it
stuff is not
endurance
gonna
race.
last that long. Huh? I mean,
I
if
mean,
you
it's
get to
not
like
digital.
a rear-ended,
It's not digital, so.
well, if you have a runner.
That's true. A rider that do some damage. All right, awesome work as always, Krister. Thanks for showing
Very
that.
nice. Beautiful.
Jeremy, what you got?
Sure. We had a race out here last weekend on Sunday in Maquoketa, Iowa. So if you're ever in Iowa, please step out. This track is in the garage. This gentleman here, Jim, owns the track. And what we did, we can't really marshal the track because if you look at the design, there's no way to get anybody in there. So it's crash and burn, 3 outs and you're done. Our first class, this is me right here. I took 3rd place, which, considering our last race, I didn't get any podiums. I'm still trying to get used to my controller, and I think I finally dialed it in. Our next race is a Fly Classics with some weird monogram stuff allowed. I don't know why. This is a Slotted Classics, and now we allow pulley car, which is, to me, is kind of interesting. This is the first time pulley cars have ever been on the podium. I don't know if it's just they did really well on this track or somebody's cheating. I know this thing cheating. NASCAR is kind of boring. I didn't do anything there. Here, I got 2nd place in our Trans Am, but what's weird about our Trans Am class is that the rules have allowed so much tuning, but the only car that wasn't Camaro, one of these 70, 71 Camaros, was this one. So, and he's like the best driver in the club, so he can beat with anything. GT, the NSR one in this class against the racers. The racers and the NSRs kind of dominate this class. I don't know.
Nice 4GT, Jeremy.
Yeah, this one here, that guy, that's his first podium finish. I don't know who built that car for him.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Part of the fun of racing is building your own stuff, but maybe somebody pays a professional to build their car. I'm not going to call it cheating, but if you got the money, you go ahead. This here is our pretty much unmodified. I took third here. I can't remember what this is. This is a Spirit. You remember Spirit? That's my favorite car of all time. And then this guy here is the best driver in the club. After I started winning, he went out and bought the Reynard from, is it Scale Auto or Skate? I can't remember the company. It's not Spirit, but it came back as something else. Anyway,
I think.
What is it?
Is it not a Slotting Plus?
Slotting Plus, you're right. Yes, that's it. It's kind of the same exact as, I don't know how they got it so close, or maybe they bought the molds for it. And I think that is it. We did for fun. We raced some Thunder slots. We don't have an official class for it, but it's just box stock. Race Thunder slot, and then because we had so much time left over, we only had 8 drivers there that day. We broke out the old Pro Slot GT cars, and to listen to the Pro Slot, to go from the Thunder slot to the Pro slot's kind of funny because they handle so well, but they sound like a dental drill. It's like you're going around there. So it's a good time of racing. If you're in Iowa, please stop out.
You said you had so much time left over. You raced all those classes in one day. You had so much time left over?
You get well, with 8 people, you get to race each lane. You race, was it 15 laps maybe? And then since I use Race Coordinator, I helped set up how we're gonna race. And I started doing some math on this, but in the old way we used to do it was really slow. But now you get your car, you put it on track, you come around, you finish the lap you're on. There's no like walking, getting your car. Everything's close by. It's just there's little things you can do to speed up how people interact. Because when we first started racing, people would just kind of meander, go grab their car, come back, and we're wasting 4 minutes each heat in between, and it adds up. So yeah,
definitely.
Jeremy, Dan said he won F1. I didn't see F1 in there.
I didn't stay for F1. I was riding my motorcycle. I wanted to get back home before dinner. So I didn't. He might have. I didn't see it.
Did you build his F1 car too, Jim?
Yeah, might have. Yeah.
All right, Bob. What are we going to hear from you?
Well, he was showing those Spirit cars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of vintage ones there, and I really like this Volkswagen color scheme. See if I can get it in focus here. But we used to run these. Now I have an Oliver chassis to put underneath these.
There you go.
It'll take an angle winder, you can see there, but just kind of fun cars. They run pretty good.
Have you run that Oliver chassis under it one yet?
Not yet, no.
Because I love that Spirit Reynard. I mean, it's just one of the best handling cars I've ever driven. And I could give it up, but I love it too much. I haven't given it up yet. It's got to be 10 years old or more, right? I mean, it's out there.
I think so.
What version do you have, Jeremy? Do you have the one with the solid plate chassis or the separate motor pod?
The separate motor pod and the metal wheels. The one that was like, I think it was like their pro version or something.
Yeah. That was my best car for years.
I'll see. I'm just a little ways behind you. I'll get there.
Is it the one I'm thinking of with like a really long motor pod, or is that a different car? Like it went all the way to the guide.
No, that's not this one.
No.
Okay.
This one just has almost like a slotted pod, but it's not quite slotted. It's like half a mil off of slotted.
All right. Cool beans. Thank you for sharing, Bob. And we got 15 minutes. Anybody else got anything they want to talk about, ask about, share? All right. How's everybody's day going? How's the weather?
I have one thing. Let me ask you guys. Maybe you guys can help me with this. I should be sharing over here on this screen. This is my track, and what I'd like to do is kind of put in some kind of pit lane here just for decoration. It's not going to be used for anything. Now I was thinking, should I just paint that, or is there anything fancier I could do here? If you have thoughts or paint, it can't go between this light bridge. But I was thinking just maybe paint like a section here and then come down around here and make it look like
what kind of track?
Did you want to put any
scale
building?
electric. What's that?
Did you want to put any like a pit building or?
I don't mind. Like if you look back here, I have 3D printed stands that I could probably put here, but I was just looking around and trying to get ideas for this, but I mean, right now,
because I think there's I don't know if you remember, but do you want more modern, or do you a specific era that
I don't care. I just want people when they come in and go, oh, that's cool. I like to get eyes on it, and then that gets people interested in racing.
Because I've seen some folks, because you can 3D print. There's some really nice renderings of what looked like what Fly did with, because Fly had some.
Yeah,
I was
gonna say the fly pit wall. The fly pit wall basically is like a border that hooks to your track. And then it has like the concrete barrier, but then a standing area where you can put the little covered table area for like the race controller people or whatever.
It's called fly pit walls.
Fly pit.
Yeah, and the great thing is they're not so high that it'll obstruct your view of the other side of your track.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got some on my track. They're hard to find.
Yeah, I was gonna say, shoot me a picture if you can, Greg.
But I'm sure if you look around, I'm sure someone has replicated them in your 3D world.
Yes,
okay, I'll take a look and see.
Yeah, on Thingiverse, the designer, as a prolific designer of 1/32 slot car track accessories and decorations, you've probably seen his designs, and he has that kind of thing as well. They're always rendered in a CAD program, not the Thingiverse rendering, and not a print.
Okay.
And they're if you go to my Thingiverse account, to see my Thingiverse, Mr. Flippin' or whatever, my collections, my slot car collection is publicly available collection of things, and those are in there somewhere.
So something like this.
Yeah, like the one on the top left. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll take a look at the other one.
Yeah, that kind of thing. I don't think that's the specific one, but yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Jeremy, did you want the pit to be functional?
No, not. I don't race digital.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the reason is I started getting do you remember the Hot Wheels? These guys, the Hot Wheels pit crew.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I found like 8 bags of them, so we're gonna start painting them up and putting some pit crews out there.
Yeah, you can probably get this electric pit crew pretty cheap too off of eBay or whatever.
Mm.
But how much are the Hot Wheels ones?
Well, the bag says $1.50, so.
Okay, never mind then. Those
good
are...
luck beating that price. Let me just
good luck.
grab one. You can go to somebody else. I'll find where I set
it. Jeremy, you can get some MDF that's the same thickness as the Scalextric track.
Yeah.
And just paint it onto that. I've extended the outside corners of my track with MDF like that, and it works fairly well.
I'm gonna see if I can find the ones that I'm thinking of.
Greg, you talk about the weather. Look, in Sweden, this is in the night. We talk 11 in the night.
Oh, you got a nice long day up there. You're way high up. You're way up north, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I am.
Well, not you, but Sweden as a whole is pretty far in the
he's
the
far
latitude.
up in Sweden even.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. But I'm in my garage now.
You've got the full-size slot car. That's awesome.
Bragging. Look at him bragging.
Is it a 132nd or 124?
I have worked a lot for both to buy this car,
Hey, give the guy a break. He's sleep deprived.
That's true.
And you hear
this is one of your best joke, John.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, twin Webbers.
This is my race car. It's the same car my father raced 50 years ago in European Championship.
The problem is finding a wood track big enough to put it on.
And
Oh man, that Nardi wheel alone, that's gorgeous.
Yeah,
exactly.
This is my race. Do you race this car, or it's your ride for your racing?
Daily driver.
Yeah, exactly.
Not with Webbers, it isn't.
Oh,
In
it's a
Italy, we
45.
race. In Italy, yeah, that's normal streets are for racing. I mean, it's not just commuting.
You gotta love a car where the carbs are bigger than the engine.
Oh, those 40s or 45s?
That's true. It's 45s. Yes,
45 DCU.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But guys, I have my toy for only to have on the road. This one is very nice. We have
Type R.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
on
did you
that.
get? Oh, you got a Type R. You got a Type R.
Yeah. It's a 400 horsepower in this one.
Nice. Yeah, I drove that around Saint-Jovite. Those are the best front drive cars I've ever driven in my life.
Truly.
Yeah, pity that in Sweden your speed limits are everywhere 50 kilometers per hour, man.
Exactly 40.
Oh, 40, yes. Even on the
40.
motorway. I mean, what you call motorway. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
yeah,
like you cannot even,
Well, you
even
can
with
drive. Hold on, you can drive as fast as you want in Sweden once the sun goes down.
I'll never go down today.
Exactly.
Which is never.
Some garage pictures from me. Okay.
All right, Wayne, you've got 8 minutes. You don't have to use them all. Just so you know, you don't have to use them all.
No, that's fine. I've arrived home now, and what I had to share, I haven't been able to share until now. But if I can manage through the menu system, these are the wheels. These were. Look at the quality. I don't know if I can zoom in. Does that mean? Yes, it might mean.
There you go.
Yeah. So the resin printed by Jeremy, and they were drawn up by Garth. And to help with.
So are these printed in resin?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Any detail, ask Jeremy. I'm hoping that I can swipe to the next picture. I probably can't. So I'm going to share again from my
You have to
photos.
zoom out. You have to zoom out and then you can swipe.
To help me to get them onto axles, I've invested in what I should have had for years, really. It's going to be useful for guide holes. It's going to be useful for wheels. It's going to be useful for all types of things. It's going to be useful for measuring holes, use them as slip gauges and feel gauges and whatnots. So...
How much did it cost?
That's
£20.
How much?
£20.
Now, are there?
Much.
I couldn't tell if those were all individual sizes or some of the smaller ones were doubled up.
No, they were all
individual.
All
51 drill bits at 0.1 millimeter intervals.
Wow.
So
Where did you buy them from, Jeremy? Wayne?
Tesco.
I bought them online.
Aldi.
Aldi, yeah.
They were on eBay, they were on Amazon, and the cheapest box. They were all the same item. They looked identical in the photographs, and I managed to find them £20.
How many of those bits are you gonna use realistically? 2 or 3?
Three.
Yeah.
I only use like 3 of my 100.
But it doesn't matter for that price. They're made of paper mache.
Yeah.
Listen, they'll last me my lifetime.
You pay just as much just to get one of those very, very tiny bits as half of that thing is worth. So it's like, just get the whole kit and have bits you'll never use to get the ones you really use for cheaper.
You'll use those bits when you do stuff around the house. So.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah.
And finally, the reason for the wheels is because the car that I've now got on my desk is notorious for having out of round and poorly fitted wheels.
Your camera's off. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So
they aren't that bad. Come on. They're not that bad.
Those wheels are horrible.
True the tires on the wheels.
It doesn't work.
I've only just had it arrive. I haven't taken the body shell off yet. I've been cajoled and pressed into purchasing one of these, and because I think after one of the chats a few weeks ago, I declared that, in my opinion, humble opinion, this is probably one of the worst slot cars in existence in terms of fit and finish and the way its mechanicals work. But I'm going to do what I can with it. There's plenty of scope, and the wheels were the first part of the process because I knew they were likely to be poorly fitted to the axle. It turns out that most of the wibble wobble, because I've had the front tires off, I haven't played with the back yet, but most of the wibble wobble is actually the way the tires fit on the wheel. You can shift them to make it go away. But yeah, so this is the latest new project, and you'll see it again, I'm sure.
So Wayne, do you glue the tires and through them, or?
Yeah, I will do.
As there. Okay. Because
Yeah,
that one
I will
should take
do.
care a bit over the wibble wobble that you can get.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I
managed to
got to one
eradicate
of
some of
the.
it.
Yeah, I got to one. I mean, two actually of the initial white kits from these cars, and they were not that bad. But I've heard so many people complaining, including the dopamine, about this stuff. So on the slot forum, you know,
Yeah,
gear,
but dopamine comes
tires,
with
and wheels coming off and stuff like that, which is basically,
Yeah,
you know, annoying
I've
if you
been,
have to upgrade everything.
yeah, I've been reading quite. I feel as though I know the car inside out before I even take the body shell off because I've read so much about them. There's issue. I can tell already that the gears are grindy and really noisy. They're going to be able to be. There's room for improvement there. Exactly how I do that, I'm not exactly sure. The tires, all reports on those tires is that they're pretty good. I don't want to invest a hell of a lot in it.
On plastic, they go pretty well. So where are you gonna run them on?
I'm going to run on plastic and wood. It's going to go on when it goes. It's going to go on several.
Wood. They're not bad on wood.
They're not bad. Okay, so if it, yep. So
they're better than
there's some kind of urethane, aren't they?
electric on wood.
They're in the upper range of stock tires as far as quality goes.
If I wanted to put something better, what would I put? Just NSR Ultras and stuff?
I think that so, or there are MB slot tires that they do for the for NASCARs. I think that could be also a good match for those.
Whatever it is, it should be specific because the wheels are particularly peculiar. The center rib is not a 5mm wide; it's like 3.5, and the whole wheel is only 8.4 or something like that.
Yeah.
And yet the tire is so bulbous, it makes out to be about, I don't know, I haven't measured yet, but I'm going to gamble it's going to be a good 10mm wide on the tread patch. Probably
we
more.
run the.
Can you change the wheel?
We run them at our club. So those tires are actually pretty good. Once you I cut the wheels down, obviously, and then I get the wheels trued. And after the wheels get trued, then I put the tires on, glue them, and obviously do the tire treatment on them and cut the tires. And then we use the NSR oil on them, and they're pretty damn good. And we run on wood ourselves, and we're about to run them on Saturday, and we haven't had any issues with them. Obviously, the guide's a little sloppy, but you can upgrade the guide on that if you like. But I mean, there's some stuff that you can do to them that it hasn't been anything crazy. I mean,
stock
gear. What are the rules?
Yeah, the stock gear.
Presumably, this is for a competition of some sort, so there's rules.
Right. So we run them pretty much stock. The only thing we can change is the guide.
Wayne, he's talking about all kinds of things.
Yeah.
What are your limitations, Wayne?
Well, as you can tell from the conversation about rear tires and the quality of the tires, I'm not actually under restriction with regard to that. I think someone that I'm up against with it is going to go crazy with it and probably fit it with aftermarket alloy wheels all around and wide tires, etc., etc. I don't really want to go down that route. I want to try and get the stock equipment to go as well as I can. And I had no qualms at all about getting some alternative wheels on them because there was no way to fix a badly fitted wheel, is there? So that's why I pursued some alternative wheels, which I'm glad to say have been really, really forthcoming, really easily solved problem. The guide problem I've already started on. Before I had as I say, the car's only just landed. I've already started the process of working out how to get the guide to function better. I don't know whether that's how hard that's going to be exactly, but I've got someone else with a chassis and a 3D printer. They're going to have a look at their chassis and see if they can improve matters for me, for themselves.
It's not anymore. It's not stock at all. So if you can go even like a 3D printed chassis, it's a different car. I mean, just to buy.
I have got rules.
With wheels.
Yeah, no, I have got rules, and keeping the chassis is one of them.
Honestly, I don't think it's a bad car. I mean, do all the regular blueprinting things, you know, glue in and glue in the bushings, and the guide is easy to swap because it's got a fairly standard size guide hole
diameter.
So you can put in all kinds of aftermarket guides and shim them and whatnot to get it to ride at the correct location.
Yeah.
There's some really good videos on HW Forum on just those Pioneer Legends cars. Really,
I've watched Harry's video content on the subject. Like I say, I've done a fair amount of research, and I think I know where most of the objectives lay, and the guide and the wheels were the main two, and obviously better braid, and I'm thinking better gears as well if I can find some in my boxes, something that reaches across the gap correctly.
This is one of my pet peeves, is that you get like a cheap class. I mean, these cars are only $40 or whatever, but then people start wanting to spend more, and all of a sudden I've got a $90 car here when I could have just bought a Thunder slot. And I'm like, what are we doing, people? Come on.
Exactly. And on that note, I'm going to hit the stop live button, but as always, we will continue chatting. Until next week, everyone, bye-bye. I'm waving bye-bye. I'm hitting the end button now. Bye. All done. Okay.